Single father misses his flight after helping an injured billionaire CEO. She was his plane's pilot. Nathan Hart's hands trembled as he checked his phone for the 100th time that morning. 7:42 a.m. Gate, B-17. Flight 2847 to Seattle boarding in 18 minutes. His backpack dug into his shoulders, stuffed with his 6-year-old daughter's favorite books, her worn, stuffed bunny, and the manila envelope that contained Lily's entire future. Medical records, surgical consent forms, and the name of the only pediatric cardiac surgeon in the Pacific Northwest, who specialized in her rare congenital heart defect. "Daddy!" Lily's voice crackled through his Bluetooth earpiece, small and afraid. "When are you coming?" Nathan's throat tightened as he navigated through the early morning crowd at Denver International Airport. His daughter was 4 hours away in Seattle Children's Hospital, waiting with his sister Michelle for the pre-surgery consultation that would determine if Lily's damaged heart could be repaired. At 6 years old, Lily had already endured 3 open-heart surgeries. This 4th procedure was her last chance, an experimental operation that only Dr. Elizabeth Chen performed, and only on Fridays. Today was Friday. The surgery was scheduled for 2 p.m. Missing this flight wasn't an option. "I'm at the airport right now, sweetheart," Nathan said, dodging a family pulling oversized luggage. "I'll be landing in Seattle at 10:30, and I'll come straight to the hospital. Aunt Michelle is staying with you, right?" "She's here, but Daddy, I'm scared. The doctors keep talking about things I don't understand, and my chest hurts." Lily's voice wavered. "What if you don't make it in time?" "I will make it, baby, I promise you." Nathan's voice broke slightly. "I have never broken a promise to you, and I'm not starting now." After Lily's mother died in childbirth, Nathan had raised his daughter alone, working double shifts as a construction site manager to cover medical bills that insurance barely touched. Every decision, every sacrifice, every sleepless night had been for Lily. She was his entire world, his reason for breathing, his everything. Flight 2847 to Seattle, now boarding Group 1 at Gate B-17, the announcement echoed through the terminal. "That's my flight, Lily. I have to board now, okay? I love you to the moon and back again," Lily finished, their ritual phrase. "I love you too, Daddy. Hurry." Nathan ended the call and broke into a jog toward Gate B-17. He could see it ahead, the blue boarding sign, the line of passengers, his salvation. 50 yards, 40 yards, 30. That's when he saw her. A woman had collapsed near the newspaper stand adjacent to his gate, her body crumpled against the wall in a position that looked wrong, too angular, too still. She wore an expensive royal blue blazer over white silk, but blood was spreading across her left shoulder, dark and alarming against the pale fabric. Her ice-blonde hair had fallen across her face, and her designer black heels had scattered several feet away. Airport personnel hadn't noticed her yet. She'd fallen in a blind spot between 2 support columns, partially hidden by a trash receptacle. Nathan's feet slowed, stopped. Final boarding call for Group 1, Flight 2847 to Seattle. Every instinct screamed at him to keep moving. Lily needed him. Dr. Chen needed him there to sign consent forms. The surgery couldn't happen without him. But Nathan looked at the bleeding woman, then at his gate, then back at the woman. His late wife, Sarah's voice echoed in his memory. "Nathan, we help when we can help. That's what makes us human." "Damn it," Nathan whispered, and ran toward the collapsed woman instead of his gate. He dropped to his knees beside her, his backpack hitting the floor. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" He gently moved her hair from her face and sucked in a sharp breath. Even unconscious and injured, she was striking. High cheekbones, flawless skin beneath the blood, features that spoke of wealth and privilege. But what struck Nathan most were the abrasions on her face and hands, as if she'd been in some kind of accident. Her eyes fluttered open, startling blue eyes that fought to focus. "The plane," she whispered urgently, trying to sit up. "I have to, the controls weren't." She swayed dangerously, and Nathan steadied her shoulders. Hey, don't move. You're hurt. I'm calling for help." Nathan pulled out his phone. "No, Her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. No paramedics, no police, no reports. Despite her obvious disorientation, her voice carried unmistakable authority. I need to sit, to breathe, to think. You're bleeding from your head and your shoulder looks dislocated. You need medical attention. I'm a doctor. I know what I need. She met his eyes with fierce determination. I'm fine. Just help me to the bathroom, please. People can't see me like this. Flight 2847 to Seattle, final boarding call. The aircraft doors will close in 2 minutes. Nathan's head snapped toward his gate. The line had disappeared. A flight attendant stood at the podium speaking into her radio. 2 minutes. He had 2 minutes to make a choice that would determine his daughter's future. The woman followed his gaze. Your flight. You're missing your flight. It wasn't a question. Blood trickled down her temple, but her blue eyes were sharp now, seeing everything. Go. I'll be fine. You're not fine. Nathan looked at her shoulder, the unnatural angle of it. You need help, and you need to catch that flight. Her voice softened. I can see it in your eyes. Someone's waiting for you. Someone important. Nathan thought of Lily, small and frightened in a hospital bed 4 hours away. He thought of Dr. Chen, who had 3 other surgeries scheduled today and couldn't reschedule. He thought of the experimental procedure that might be Lily's only chance at a normal life. But he also thought of Sarah, of the values she'd instilled in him, of the man he'd promised her he would be for their daughter. My daughter needs surgery today in Seattle, Nathan said quietly. But I can't walk away from someone who needs help right now. That's not who I am. That's not who I want her father to be. Something shifted in the woman's expression. Surprise, respect, and something else Nathan couldn't identify. What's your daughter's name? Lily. She's 6. She has a congenital heart defect. This surgery could save her life. Nathan pulled off his jacket and pressed it against the woman's bleeding shoulder. But right now, you're the one who needs saving. So let me help you and then I'll figure out how to get to Seattle. We are now closing the doors for Flight 2847 to Seattle, the announcement came. All passengers must be on board. Nathan watched his gate close, watched his chance disappear, watched Lily's surgery slip away. The woman stared at him with something like awe. You just sacrificed your daughter's surgery for a stranger. I didn't sacrifice anything, Nathan said firmly, pulling out his phone to call 911. I made a choice. There's always another way. There has to be. As he spoke to the emergency dispatcher, Nathan didn't notice the woman studying his face with intense focus, as if memorizing every detail. He didn't notice her reaching for her own phone with her good hand. He didn't notice the small silver wings pin on her blazer lapel, the kind that pilots wore. And he certainly didn't notice the departing Flight 2847's destination had just changed in the most impossible way, because the woman Nathan Hart had just saved wasn't just a doctor. She was Ravenna Ashford, CEO of Ashford Aviation, owner of 15 private jets, and the pilot who had been scheduled to fly her personal aircraft to Seattle that morning until a catastrophic mechanical failure during her pre-flight inspection had sent her crashing into the terminal wall. The plane Nathan had just missed boarding was a commercial flight, but somewhere on the tarmac, Ravenna's private jet sat fueled and ready, its co-pilot waiting for instructions that would never come. At least, that's what Ravenna had thought 30 seconds ago. Now watching this stranger sacrifice everything for her, Ravenna Ashford made a decision that would change 3 lives forever. Nathan, she said, her voice steadying despite the pain, I think I can help you get to Seattle after all. The airport medical station smelled of antiseptic and recycled air. Nathan sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair while a paramedic examined Ravenna Ashford, who had finally agreed to treatment after Nathan threatened to physically carry her there himself. The paramedic, an efficient woman named Maria, had already reset Ravenna's shoulder, a procedure that made Nathan wince in sympathetic pain, and was now cleaning the head wound. You're incredibly lucky, Maria said, applying butterfly bandages. Another inch, and this could have been serious. You say you fell during a pre-flight inspection. Equipment malfunction, Ravenna replied tersely, avoiding Nathan's eyes. I'm fine now. Just give me something for the pain and clear me to leave. Ma'am, you should really go to a hospital for a full evaluation. Possible concussion, definitely traumatic shoulder dislocation. I'm a physician. I can monitor myself. Ravenna's tone left no room for argument. Just the painkillers, please. Nathan's phone buzzed. Michelle's name flashed on the screen and his stomach dropped. Excuse me, he muttered, stepping into the hallway. Nathan? His sister's voice was tight with stress. Where are you? Dr. Chen's office just called. They need you here by noon to complete pre-surgical paperwork, or they'll have to reschedule Lily's procedure. I'm still in Denver. Nathan closed his eyes. I missed my flight. What? Nathan, how? There was an emergency. Someone needed help, and I couldn't just... He stopped, knowing how it sounded, knowing that no explanation would make this okay. Michelle, I'm trying to find another flight, but everything's booked solid. It's spring break and... Nathan, Michelle's voice cracked. Lily is terrified. She keeps asking for you. The surgical team is prepping, and without your signature on those consent forms, without you here to authorize the procedure... I know, okay? Nathan's hand pressed against his forehead. I'm working on it. Tell Lily I'm coming. Tell her daddy is moving mountains to get there. And if you can't, if the mountains don't move... Nathan had no answer. He ended the call and slumped against the wall, the weight of his choice crushing down on him. He'd done the right thing, he knew he had, but the right thing was costing his daughter everything. Nathan, Ravenna's voice made him turn. She stood in the doorway of the medical station, her shoulder now properly supported in a sling, her blazer draped over her good arm. Despite the butterfly bandages on her temple and the pallor of her skin, she radiated authority. Come with me. We need to talk. She led him through a staff-only door and down a corridor Nathan had never seen, past security checkpoints where uniformed personnel nodded at Ravenna with recognition. They emerged onto a private section of the tarmac where a sleek white jet sat gleaming in the morning sun. The Ashford Aviation logo shone on its tail. What is this? Nathan asked. This is how you get to Seattle. Ravenna pulled out her phone and made a call. David, it's Ravenna. I need the citation ready for immediate departure to Seattle. Yes, I know I cancelled this morning's flight. Plans changed. Have Marcus run the pre-flight. I'll be there in 10 minutes. She ended the call and turned to Nathan. My private jet. Seats 6 passengers, cruises at 500 meters. We can be in Seattle in 90 minutes. Nathan stared at her. You're offering me a ride on your private jet? I'm offering you a chance to keep your promise to your daughter. Ravenna's blue eyes were intense. You sacrificed your flight to help me. The least I can do is make sure that sacrifice wasn't in vain. I can't accept this. I can't afford. I'm not asking you to pay for it, Nathan. I was flying to Seattle anyway. You'll just be company. She started walking toward the jet. Now stop wasting time arguing and let's go save your daughter. Nathan's mind reeled. This didn't make sense. Wealthy people didn't just offer free rides on private jets to strangers. There had to be a catch, a price, something. But Lily's face flashed in his mind, her hopeful eyes, her brave smile, her absolute faith that Daddy would keep his promises, and Nathan found himself following Ravenna Ashford across the tarmac. The jet's interior was stunning. Cream leather seats, polished wood trim, technology that Nathan couldn't begin to understand. A pilot in his 50s greeted them at the entrance, his eyes widening when he saw Ravenna's injuries. Miss Ashford, what happened? The flight was cancelled and then you disappeared and... Change of plans, Marcus. Medical emergency. This is Nathan Hart. We're taking him to Seattle immediately. File the flight plan for Seattle-Tacoma International, priority clearance. But Miss Ashford, your shoulder. Should you be traveling? Marcus, I'm not flying the plane. You are. Now let's move. Team. As the pilot hurried to the cockpit, Ravenna gestured for Nathan to take a seat. He sank into leather, softer than any furniture he'd ever owned. His backpack clutched on his lap like a security blanket. Why are you doing this? Nathan asked as Ravenna settled across from him, wincing as she adjusted her sling. Because you helped me when you had every reason not to. Ravenna's expression was unreadable. Because your daughter deserves a father who shows up, and because... She paused, something flickering across her face. Because it's the right thing to do. The engines hummed to life. Through the window, Nathan watched the commercial terminal in the distance, where hundreds of people were boarding conventional flights, following normal paths to normal destinations. He thought about how close he'd come to being one of them, how one choice, one moment of compassion had derailed his entire plan. And yet, here he was, on a private jet, flying faster than any commercial plane could manage, with a woman who was either his salvation or his doom. "Thank you," Nathan said quietly. "I don't know how I'll ever repay this, but you already did. You stopped when no one else would have." Ravenna looked out the window, her profile sharp against the morning light. "You have no idea what that means to me." The jet began taxiing. Marcus's voice came over the intercom. "Ms. Ashford, we've received priority clearance. Wheels up in 3 minutes. Seattle-Tacoma in 90 minutes. Nathan pulled out his phone and called Michelle. "I'm on my way. Tell Dr. Chen I'll be there by 11:30. Tell Lily..." His voice broke. "Tell Lily that Daddy is coming, and nothing in this world could stop me from getting to her." As the jet lifted into the Colorado sky, Nathan felt the impossible weight of the morning begin to lift. He'd made it. Against all odds, he was going to make it. But across from him, Ravenna Ashford sat with her eyes closed, her face drawn with pain that had nothing to do with her injured shoulder. Because what Nathan didn't know, what no one knew, was that Ravenna had been fleeing to Seattle that morning to escape the results of a medical test, a test that revealed she had a rare genetic disorder. A test that proved she wasn't who she thought she was. A test that impossibly might just save Nathan's daughter's life. The Citation jet sliced through clear skies at 40,000 feet, the Cascade Mountains rising like jagged teeth on the horizon. Nathan had called Michelle 3 times in the past hour, reassuring her, reassuring Lily, reassuring himself that this was really happening, that he would actually make it. Ravenna sat across from him, typing one-handed on her laptop despite the pain medication she'd taken. Her royal blue blazer was draped over the adjacent seat, revealing the white silk blouse beneath, now decorated with faint bloodstains. She worked with fierce concentration, as if the emails and spreadsheets could block out whatever thoughts haunted her. "Can I ask you something?" Nathan ventured during a lull. Ravenna looked up, her blue eyes still sharp despite her injuries. "That depends on what you're asking. What were you running from this morning?" Her fingers froze on the keyboard. "Excuse me? You said there was a mechanical failure during pre-flight inspection, but Marcus seemed surprised you were flying at all. He said the flight had been cancelled." Nathan leaned forward. "And when I found you, you were disoriented, but the first thing you said was something about controls, about something not being right." Ravenna closed her laptop with deliberate precision. "You're observant. I work in construction. My job is noticing when things don't add up." Nathan kept his voice gentle. "You don't have to tell me, but you've been checking your phone every few minutes, and whatever you're seeing makes you look like you're about to be sick. So I'm asking, not as someone you're helping, but as someone who wants to help you back. What's wrong?" For a long moment, Ravenna said nothing. Then she pulled out her phone and stared at it, her thumb hovering over something. "I received test results yesterday," she said finally. "Medical results. I'm adopted. I've always known that. The Ashford family took me in when I was 12, gave me opportunities, education, everything. I built my company from nothing, proved I deserved the name they gave me." Her voice hardened. "But I never knew anything about my biological family, never wanted to. What changed? 3 months ago, I started having symptoms, fatigue, joint pain, cognitive issues. My doctors ran every test imaginable. 2 days ago, they found something in my genetics, a rare disorder, not life-threatening, but significant enough that I need to know my biological family history for proper treatment." She looked away. So I hired a private investigator. The results came through yesterday evening. And I have a biological sister I never knew about. A half-sister, technically. She's 16 years older than me, living in Seattle. Ravenna's voice dropped to almost a whisper. She left me a message this morning. She wants to meet. She says it's urgent. She says, Ravenna stopped, her jaw clenching. She says our mother died last week, and there are things I need to know. Nathan felt his chest tighten with empathy. That's why you were flying to Seattle. You were going to meet her. I was going to run away from meeting her. Ravenna's laugh was bitter. I cancelled my flight 3 times this morning, finally decided to take my jet and just fly somewhere, anywhere, to avoid dealing with this. I was doing my own pre-flight check because I didn't want Marcus asking questions. I was distracted, emotional, not thinking clearly. I missed a critical hydraulic leak, and when I tested the control surfaces, the equipment failed, and you got hurt. And I got hurt, Ravenna confirmed, and then you found me. And you sacrificed your daughter's surgery to help someone who was literally running from her own family. She met his eyes. The irony isn't lost on me. The jet hit a pocket of turbulence, making them both grab their armrests. When it passed, Nathan said quietly, My wife died 6 years ago. She never got to see Lily grow up, never got to know the amazing little girl we created together. For years, I've been so focused on Lily's survival that I forgot to actually live, forgot to let people in, forgot that being strong doesn't mean being alone. Why are you telling me this? Because you have a sister who wants to meet you, who says she has important information, and you're running. Nathan leaned forward. I understand fear, Ravenna. I understand wanting to control every aspect of your life so it can't hurt you. But I also know that family, even complicated, messy, inconvenient family, is worth the risk. Ravenna stared at him. You don't know what you're asking. My entire identity is built on being Ravenna Ashford, self-made CEO, someone who didn't need anybody. Finding out I have biological family, dealing with a dead mother I never knew, meeting a sister who might want something from me, it threatens everything I've built. Or, Nathan said gently, it gives you something you've been missing. Before Ravenna could respond, Marcus's voice came over the intercom. Ms. Ashford, we have a situation. Seattle Approach Control is reporting severe weather moving into the area. Heavy rain, possible wind shear. They're asking if we want to divert to Portland or wait it out. Ravenna grabbed the phone handset. How long until the weather clears? Unknown, Mom. The system is unpredictable. Could be 30 minutes, could be 3 hours. Nathan's heart plummeted. I can't wait 3 hours. Lily's surgery is at 2 p.m. If I don't get there by noon, we're not waiting. Ravenna's voice was steel. Marcus, I want you to request priority medical emergency clearance. Tell Approach Control, we have a passenger with a critically ill child awaiting surgery. Get us on the ground now. Ms. Ashford, the weather... I know what I'm asking, Marcus. I also know you're the best pilot I've ever flown with. Can you get us down safely? A pause, then, yes, ma'am, but it's going to be rough. Then make it happen. As Marcus began coordinating with air traffic control, Nathan looked at Ravenna with newfound respect. You're risking your plane, your pilot, yourself, for my daughter. You risked your daughter's surgery for me, Ravenna replied. I'm just evening the score. The jet began its descent. Through the windows, dark clouds gathered like an army. Lightning flickered in the distance. The cabin pressure changed, making Nathan's ears pop. His phone buzzed. Michelle's text was brief. Dr. Chen says, if you're not here by 12:30, surgery is cancelled. Lily is asking for you. Please hurry. Nathan showed the text to Ravenna, his hands shaking. She read it, then pulled out her own phone and sent a quick message. 30 seconds later, her phone rang. David, it's Ravenna. I need a helicopter on standby at Seattle-Tacoma South Executive Terminal. Yes, immediately. Charter it to Seattle Children's Hospital and tell them to have a landing pad ready. She listened, then said firmly, I don't care what it costs. Just make it happen. She ended the call and looked at Nathan. When we land, there will be a helicopter waiting. It'll get you to the hospital in 15 minutes. You'll make it." Nathan couldn't speak, couldn't process the extent of what this woman was doing for him. Finally, he managed, "Why? Why go this far for someone you just met?" Ravenna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than he'd heard it. "Because you saw me when I was at my lowest, when I was literally bleeding and broken, and you helped anyway. You didn't ask who I was or what I could do for you, you just helped." She looked away. "No one has done that for me in a very long time, maybe ever." The turbulence hit hard, slamming them against their seatbelts. The jet dropped 50 feet in seconds, recovered, dropped again. Through the cockpit door, Nathan could hear Marcus's calm voice coordinating with the tower, requesting vectors, confirming approach speeds. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Marcus. We're beginning our final approach into Seattle. Weather is challenging but manageable. Please remain seated with seatbelts fastened. Miss Ashford, Mr. Hart will have you on the ground in 8 minutes." Nathan gripped his armrests, his mind filled with images of Lily. Her first smile, her first word, the way she held his hand when she was scared, the absolute trust in her eyes when she said, "I love you, Daddy." Across from him, Ravenna was gripping her own armrests, her face pale but determined. Their eyes met, and Nathan saw something surprising there, not just pain from her injuries, but a deep, profound loneliness that mirrored his own. "Nathan," she said suddenly, her voice urgent as the jet descended through the storm clouds, "if we make it down safely, if you make it to your daughter in time, will you do something for me? Anything. Meet my sister with me. I don't—" She stopped, vulnerability cracking through her armor. "I don't want to do it alone." Nathan reached across the aisle and took her hand. "I'll be there, I promise." The wheels touched down with a screech and a shudder. Rain hammered the windows. The jet hydroplaned slightly, then caught traction. Marcus expertly guided them off the runway and toward the executive terminal. "Welcome to Seattle," Marcus announced. "Local time is 11:47 a.m. Mr. Hart, your helicopter is waiting." Nathan released Ravenna's hand and grabbed his backpack. The jet door opened, revealing a helicopter with spinning rotors just 50 yards away. A paramedic team waited beside it. Nathan turned back to Ravenna. "Thank you for everything. I'll call you after the surgery." "Go," Ravenna said. "Save your daughter." Nathan ran through the rain toward the helicopter. As it lifted off, banking hard toward Seattle Children's Hospital visible in the distance, Nathan looked down and saw Ravenna standing in the doorway of her jet, watching him go. He didn't know that while he rushed to save his daughter's life, Ravenna Ashford was about to receive a phone call that would reveal why her genetic disorder mattered so much. He didn't know that Lily's rare heart condition required a specific tissue type for the experimental treatment. A tissue type so rare that Dr. Chen had been searching for a compatible donor for 3 years without success. And he certainly didn't know that Ravenna's biological sister, the one waiting to meet her, was about to reveal that Ravenna was the only person in the Pacific Northwest with the exact genetic markers needed to save a 6-year-old girl named Lily Hart. The helicopter cut through the storm, racing against time, and on the tarmac below, Ravenna Ashford stared at her phone, at the message from her sister that she'd been avoiding all morning. It read, "Ravenna, I know this is overwhelming, but I have critical medical information about our family genetics. Someone's life may depend on this. Please call me immediately." Ravenna's fingers trembled as she finally hit dial, and 3 lives that should never have intersected began their impossible collision. The helicopter touched down on Seattle Children's Hospital rooftop at 12:19 p.m. Nathan burst through the access door before the rotors fully stopped, his backpack slamming against his spine as he raced down 4 flights of stairs. His phone showed 17 missed calls from Michelle, 6 from Dr. Chen's office, and 1 text from Lily sent 3 minutes ago. "Daddy, where are you? I'm scared." He exploded through the stairwell door into the surgical wing's waiting area. Michelle jumped from her chair, her face a mixture of relief and fury. "Nathan, my God! We thought Dr. Chen said if you weren't here in 10 minutes. Where's Lily? Where's the paperwork? Nathan gasped, his lungs burning. Room 412. But Nathan, there's been a complication. Dr. Chen needs to speak with you immediately before... Nathan was already running. He found room 412 and shoved through the door. Lily lay in the hospital bed, drowning in a surgical gown 3 sizes too big, her small chest rising and falling with the rhythm of the monitors attached to her. Her brown eyes, Sarah's eyes, lit up when she saw him. "Daddy!" She tried to sit up, but the IV lines held her back. "You came! You really came!" Nathan collapsed beside her bed, taking her tiny hand in both of his. "Of course I came, baby. I will always come. Always." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry I was late. I'm so sorry." Aunt Michelle said you helped someone who was hurt. That's why you missed your plane." Lily's voice was weak but proud. "She said you were being a hero, like Mommy always said you were." Tears streamed down Nathan's face. "You're the hero, Lily. You're the bravest person I know." "Mr. Hart." A woman's voice made him turn. "Doctor." Elizabeth Chen stood in the doorway, her surgical scrubs already on, her expression grave. "We need to talk. Now." Nathan kissed Lily's forehead. "I'll be right back, sweetheart. 2 minutes." In the hallway, Dr. Chen didn't waste time. "Mr. Hart, I've reviewed Lily's latest scans from this morning. Her condition has deteriorated faster than we anticipated. The ventricular wall is weakening, and there's increased fluid around her heart." Nathan's world tilted. "What does that mean?" "It means the surgery has become significantly more complex. We'll need to perform a partial reconstruction using donor tissue to reinforce the damaged area. Without it, the experimental valve replacement alone won't be enough. Her heart wall could rupture during recovery." "Donor tissue? You mean like an organ donor?" "Cardiac tissue specifically. But here's the problem, Mr. Hart. Lily's tissue type is extraordinarily rare, HLA-B57.03, with a specific genetic marker we call the Chen factor, named after my father who discovered it. In 30 years of cardiac surgery, I've only encountered it twice." Dr. Chen pulled out her tablet, showing him complex genetic charts. "We've been searching the National Donor Registry for 3 years. There are only 11 documented cases of compatible donors in North America. None are available." Nathan felt the floor disappear beneath him. "So what are you saying? The surgery can't happen?" "I'm saying we need a miracle. We need to find someone with this exact tissue type willing to undergo a biopsy procedure to harvest cardiac tissue samples. It's not life-threatening to the donor, but it's invasive, painful, and expensive. And we need it today, Mr. Hart. Lily's heart won't wait another week. What are the odds of finding someone?" "Doctor." Chen's silence was answer enough. Nathan's phone buzzed. An unknown Seattle number. He almost declined it, but something made him answer. "Hello? Nathan, it's Ravenna." Her voice was strange, tight, shocked, almost disbelieving. "I'm at the hospital, ground floor, main entrance. You need to come down here right now." "Ravenna, I can't. Lily's surgery." "Nathan." Ravenna's voice cut through his protest like a blade. "My sister just told me something. Something about our family genetics, about a rare cardiac marker that runs in our biological line." She paused. "Nathan, what's your daughter's tissue type?" Nathan's heart stopped. Why are you asking that?" "Just tell me, please." Nathan looked at Dr. Chen's tablet, at the incomprehensible string of letters and numbers. HLA-B5703 and something called the Chen factor. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted an eternity. When Ravenna spoke again, her voice shook. "I need you to come downstairs, now, and bring Dr. Chen with you." 5 minutes later, Nathan and Dr. Chen stepped off the elevator into the main lobby. Ravenna stood near the information desk, her arms still in a sling, her royal blue blazer now wrinkled and bloodstained. Beside her stood a woman in her early 40s with dark hair and green eyes that matched Ravenna's exactly, her biological sister. "Dr. Chen," Ravenna said without preamble, "this is my sister, Dr. Claire Whitmore. She's a geneticist at the University of Washington Medical Center." Dr. Chen's eyes widened. "Claire Whitmore. I've read your research on inherited cardiac markers. Your work on familial tissue typing is groundbreaking. Claire nodded tersely. Doctor, Jen, my mother, Ravenna's and my biological mother died last week from complications of the same genetic disorder Ravenna was just diagnosed with. Before she died, she made me promise to find Ravenna and tell her about our family's medical history. She pulled out a folder thick with documents. Our genetic line carries an extremely rare tissue marker. It's benign in most cases, but it can cause cardiac complications in certain circumstances. My mother spent 20 years documenting every family member she could find. She opened the folder, revealing genealogy charts, medical records, genetic testing results. There are only 14 people in the world with our exact tissue type. Ravenna is one of them, and according to what she just told me about your patient, Claire looked at Nathan, her expression filled with impossible compassion. Your daughter is another. Nathan couldn't breathe. That's impossible. Lily's mother died 6 years ago. We don't have any connection to Nathan. Ravenna's voice was barely a whisper. What was your wife's maiden name? Sarah Whitmore. She was adopted, raised in Portland, never knew her biological family. Nathan stopped, stared at Claire, at Ravenna, at the unmistakable family resemblance he'd been too overwhelmed to notice. Oh my God, he whispered. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Sarah was my half-sister. Our mother gave her up for adoption when she was 17, before she met my father. Sarah and I were born 5 years apart. I've been searching for her for 10 years. Her voice broke. I found her 6 months ago. She'd been dead for 5 years. But she had a daughter. Lily, Nathan said numbly, Lily is your niece. And mine, Ravenna added quietly. She looked at Nathan with eyes that mirrored his own shock. That little girl upstairs, the one you sacrificed everything to save, is my biological niece. Dr. Chen's mind was clearly racing through the implications. The tissue match. That's why Lily has this rare marker. It runs in her maternal family line. She turned to Ravenna. Ms. Ashford, have you been tissue typed? This morning, the results came through while Nathan was in the helicopter. Ravenna pulled out her phone, showing Dr. Chen a medical report. HLA B5703, Chen factor positive. According to Claire's research, I'm a perfect match. For Lily's surgery, Nathan asked, his voice barely audible. For the donor tissue we need, Dr. Chen confirmed. Ms. Ashford, do you understand what this means? We would need to perform a cardiac biopsy, harvest tissue samples from your heart lining. It's done through catheterization, but there are risks. Pain, potential complications, weeks of recovery. Ravenna didn't hesitate. When can we start? Ravenna, no. Nathan grabbed her good arm. You're already injured. Your shoulder, the concussion. You can't put yourself through major medical procedures because of some cosmic coincidence. Cosmic coincidence? Ravenna's laugh was sharp, almost hysterical. Nathan, don't you see? This morning, I was running away from my family. I was so terrified of confronting my past that I literally tried to fly away from it. And then I crashed, and you found me. You, a complete stranger, sacrificed your daughter's surgery to help me, and that daughter turns out to be my niece, the niece of a sister I didn't know existed, born from a mother I never met. She stepped closer, her blue eyes blazing with intensity. You asked me on the plane why I was helping you. I said it was because you saw me when I was broken and helped anyway. But Nathan, this goes deeper than that. This is why we met. This is why you were at that gate at that exact moment. This is why I cancelled my flight 3 times and ended up crashing right where you would find me. You can't believe in fate, Nathan protested weakly. I didn't, until today. Ravenna turned to Dr. Chen. How quickly can you prep for the biopsy? Dr. Chen looked between them, her expression conflicted. Ms. Ashford, I need you to understand the full scope. The biopsy takes 3 hours. Recovery from anesthesia, another 2 hours. Then we need to process the tissue samples, which takes an additional 4 hours minimum. Even if we start immediately, we're looking at a 9-hour delay before we can proceed with Lily's surgery. And if we don't do it? Nathan asked, though he already knew the answer. Lily's heart won't survive traditional surgery. Without the tissue reinforcement, her chances of surviving the operation dropped to less than 20%. Dr. Chen's voice was gentle but firm. With the donor tissue, her chances jumped to 85%. Nathan looked at Ravenna, this woman he'd met 4 hours ago, this stranger who had become his daughter's only hope. "I can't ask you to do this. You're not asking, I'm offering." Ravenna's voice softened. "Nathan, you gave up everything to help me this morning. Let me return the favor. Let me help save my niece. Let me finally do something meaningful with this genetics that I've spent my whole life running from." Claire stepped forward, placing a hand on her sister's good shoulder. "Ravenna, are you sure? We just met. You don't owe these people anything." "I owe Nathan everything," Ravenna interrupted. "And I owe Sarah, our sister, the chance to keep her daughter alive." She looked at Nathan. "You told me on the plane that family, even complicated, messy family, is worth the risk. You were right. So let me take this risk. Let me be family." Dr. Chen pulled out her phone. "I'll call the surgical team. We'll prep you immediately, Ms. Ashford. Mr. Hart, Lily's surgery will now be scheduled for approximately 10 p.m. tonight. You should prepare her for the delay." As Dr. Chen walked away making calls, Nathan stood frozen, overwhelmed by the impossible convergence of events. Ravenna watched him with an expression that was part fear, part determination, and part something else, hope maybe, or purpose. "Thank you," Nathan finally managed. "I don't know what to, go be with Lily," Ravenna said gently. "Tell her that her Aunt Ravenna is helping. Tell her that family always shows up when you need them most." Nathan nodded, unable to speak past the emotion choking his throat. As he turned toward the elevators, he heard Claire's voice behind him. "Ravenna, there's something else, something Mum wanted you to know about why she gave Sarah up for adoption, about the father." But the elevator doors closed, cutting off the rest of the conversation. Nathan rode up to the 4th floor, his mind spinning. In one impossible day, he'd lost a flight, gained a plane ride, discovered his late wife had a family she never knew, and found the one person in the world who could save his daughter. Sarah, he thought, sending the prayer to wherever she was. If you had anything to do with this, if you somehow arranged this impossible coincidence, thank you. Thank you for bringing Ravenna to that exact spot. Thank you for making me the kind of man who would stop. Thank you for Lily. He entered room 412 to find Lily awake, her small face tight with anxiety. "Daddy? What's happening? Why did the doctors leave?" Nathan sat on her bed and took her hand, marveling at how small it was, how fragile. "Lily, baby, I have something amazing to tell you. Do you remember how Mommy was adopted? How she always wondered about her family?" Lily nodded slowly. "Well, it turns out Mommy had sisters she never got to meet, and one of those sisters, your Aunt Ravenna, is here in the hospital right now, and she's going to help make sure your surgery goes perfectly." "I have an aunt." Lily's eyes widened. "A real aunt. A real aunt. And Lily, she looks a little bit like Mommy. She has the same eyes." Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks. "Mommy sent her, didn't she? From heaven, to help us." Nathan pulled his daughter into his arms, holding her as carefully as her IV lines would allow. "Yeah, baby, I think maybe she did." 4 floors below, in a pre-surgical prep room, Ravenna Ashford lay on a gurney while nurses inserted IV lines and attached monitoring equipment. Claire stood beside her, holding her hand. "You don't have to do this," Claire said quietly. "I know we just met, and this is overwhelming, and—" "Claire!" Ravenna squeezed her sister's hand. "I've spent 27 years building an empire to prove I didn't need anyone, to prove I was enough on my own, and I was miserable, successful, powerful, but completely alone." She looked at the ceiling, at the fluorescent lights that reminded her of the airport terminal where everything changed. "This morning, a stranger saw me at my absolute lowest, and he helped. Not because of who I was or what I could do for him. He just helped. And now I have the chance to help his daughter, my niece, Sarah's daughter. Our sister's daughter, Claire corrected gently. Our sister's daughter, Ravenna repeated, the word still strange on her tongue. Family. Dr. Chen entered, her surgical mask already in place. Ms. Ashford, we're ready to begin. Last chance to change your mind. Ravenna thought of Nathan's face when he realized Lily might die without this tissue. She thought of that little girl upstairs, fighting for her life. She thought of Sarah, the sister she never knew, who had died too young. She thought of her mother, who had given up children to protect them, carrying that grief for decades. "Let's save my niece," Ravenna said. As the anesthesia began to flow through her veins, as consciousness started to slip away, Ravenna's last thought was of Nathan's words on the plane. Sometimes the best things in life shouldn't be overthought, and for the first time in her carefully controlled life, Ravenna Ashford let go. Let fate take over. Let family, this strange, impossible, miraculous family, catch her. The surgery began at 1:47 p.m., and upstairs, Nathan held his daughter and told her stories about the aunt she'd never met, the mother who loved her from heaven, and the miracle that happened when strangers became family. The waiting room on the surgical floor had become Nathan's prison. For 6 hours, he'd paced the same 20 square feet, worn coffee in one hand, his phone clutched in the other. Michelle sat in the corner with a book she hadn't turned a page of in an hour. Claire Whitmore, his late wife's half-sister, his daughter's aunt, sat beside her, occasionally checking her own phone for updates on Ravenna's procedure. 7:43 p.m. The biopsy had been completed 2 hours ago. Ravenna was in recovery. The tissue samples were being processed in the lab, and Lily was being prepped for surgery that would either save her life or end it. Nathan's phone buzzed. Dr. Chen's name flashed on the screen. "Mr. Hart, the tissue processing is complete. The samples are viable and perfect for transplantation. We're bringing Lily to the surgical suite now. The procedure will take approximately 6 hours. I'll update you every 2 hours. Can I see her before she goes under? You have 5 minutes. Room 412. Nathan ran. He burst into Lily's room to find his daughter drowsy from pre-surgical medications, her small body dwarfed by the hospital bed. A surgical cap covered her brown hair. She looked impossibly young, impossibly fragile. "Hey, princess," Nathan said, forcing his voice to stay steady. "You ready to get your heart fixed?" Lily's eyes struggled to focus. "Daddy, is Aunt Ravenna okay? Did her part work?" "Her part worked perfectly, baby. And now it's your turn to be brave." "Will it hurt?" Nathan's chest constricted. "You won't feel anything during the surgery. You'll just go to sleep, and when you wake up, your heart will be stronger. Dr. Chen is the best in the world, remember? And Aunt Ravenna's piece of her heart will be in my heart." Lily's voice was dreamy, the medication pulling her towards sleep. "So Mummy's family will keep me safe." Nathan kissed her forehead, breathing in the scent of hospital soap and his daughter's strawberry shampoo that Michelle had packed. "Yes, sweetheart. Mummy's family will keep you safe. I'll keep you safe. You're surrounded by people who love you." "Daddy." Lily's hand found his. "Thank you for missing your plane. Thank you for helping that lady. Mummy would be proud." Nathan couldn't speak, could only hold her small hand as the surgical team entered to transport her to the operating room. As they wheeled her gurney toward the doors, Lily's sleepy voice called out one more time, "Love you to the moon and back, Daddy. And back again, Princess. And back again." The doors swung closed, and Nathan collapsed against the wall, his strength finally giving out. Michelle was there immediately, her arms around him, letting him break in a way he hadn't since Sarah died. "She's going to be okay," Michelle whispered. "She's going to make it." But Nathan had learned that morning that nothing was certain, that life could change in a heartbeat, in a moment, in the space between one breath and the next. Claire approached cautiously. "Nathan, would you like to see Ravenna?" "She's awake now, asking about Lily." Nathan wiped his face and nodded. They walked down 2 floors to the recovery wing. Ravenna lay in a private room, still pale from the procedure, monitors beeping steadily beside her. Her royal blue blazer hung on the chair, blood-stained, wrinkled, but somehow still elegant. When she saw Nathan, she tried to sit up. "Don't," Nathan said quickly, moving to her bedside. "Don't move. You just had major surgery. Is Lily in surgery now? Dr. Chen said the tissue was perfect." Nathan's voice cracked. "Ravenna, what you did today, I can never repay that. Never. You already have." Ravenna's eyes were glassy from pain medication, but her voice was clear. "Nathan, do you believe in destiny, in things happening for a reason?" "I didn't. This morning, I believed in working hard and hoping for the best." Nathan sat in the chair beside her bed. "But after today, I don't know what I believe anymore." "I was running away this morning," Ravenna said. "I was terrified of confronting my past, of meeting family I didn't know existed. I cancelled that flight 3 times because I was a coward, and then I crashed, and you found me." She looked at him with those striking blue eyes that did indeed resemble Sarah's. "Nathan, I'm not religious. I'm not spiritual. I've built my entire life on control and logic, but I can't explain today except as a miracle," Nathan finished, "or an intervention." Ravenna smiled weakly. "Sarah's intervention. Our sister made sure we'd meet. Made sure I'd be in the right place at the right time to save her daughter." Claire, standing in the doorway, spoke up. "There's something you both should know. About Mom. About why she gave Sarah up for adoption." She entered the room, carrying the thick folder of family documents. "Mom was 17 when she got pregnant with Sarah. The father was—" Claire hesitated. "He was married, a prominent businessman in Portland. When Mom told him she was pregnant, he threatened her, said he'd ruin her life if she tried to claim he was the father, so Mom ran. Gave Sarah to a good family and spent the rest of her life regretting it." "Did she ever try to find Sarah?" Nathan asked. "Every year. Hired investigators, checked adoption registries. She found her 8 years ago, 2 years after Sarah died." Claire's voice broke. "Mum was devastated. She'd spent 30 years looking, and she was 2 years too late. But she discovered Sarah had a daughter, Lily. Mom watched from a distance, never approaching because she didn't want to disrupt Lily's life. She saw you, Nathan, raising Lily alone after Sarah's death. She saw how much you loved her." Nathan felt tears streaming down his face. "She knew about us. She knew everything. And when Mom got sick last year, when she realized she was dying, she made me promise 2 things. First, find Ravenna and tell her about her family. Second, make sure Lily knew she came from people who loved her, people who would have been there if they could have." "Why didn't she just contact me directly?" Nathan asked. "Why wait?" "Because she was ashamed," Claire said simply. "Ashamed of giving up her daughters. Ashamed of the choices she made. She didn't think she deserved to be in your lives." Claire opened the folder, revealing photographs Nathan had never seen. Pictures of Sarah as a baby. Sarah as a toddler. Sarah's biological mother holding her with a smile that was pure joy and pure heartbreak at once. "This was supposed to be yours," Claire said, handing the folder to Nathan. "Mum's complete medical history, family genetics, photographs, everything Sarah never got to know about where she came from. Everything Lily deserves to have." Nathan stared at the photographs of his late wife as a child, at the face of the grandmother Lily would never meet, at the family tree that branched in unexpected directions. "Sarah always wondered," he whispered. "She used to lie awake at night imagining her biological family, creating stories about why they gave her up. She convinced herself it was because they didn't want her. They wanted her more than anything," Claire said firmly. "Mom just wanted her to have a better life than what she could provide at 17. Ravenna, watching this exchange, spoke quietly. "Nathan, when you found me this morning, you said something. You said sometimes people make mistakes or get sick in ways that make it hard for them to be together. You understood that. Even before you knew our connection, you understood that family isn't about never making mistakes. It's about showing up when it matters." "Diane, you showed up," Nathan replied. "For Lily, for me. You didn't have to, but you did. Because you showed up for me first." Ravenna reached for Nathan's hand. I spent 27 years convinced I didn't need family, that I was better off alone, that attachments were weaknesses. And then, in one morning, a stranger taught me that the strongest thing you can do is choose to care about someone else. A nurse entered. "Ms. Ashford, you need rest. And Mr. Hart, there's a phone call for you at the nurse's station. Dr. Chen." Nathan's heart stopped. It had only been 90 minutes. The surgery was supposed to take 6 hours. He sprinted to the nurse's station and grabbed the phone. "Dr. Chen, what's wrong? Is Lily—" "Mr. Hart, I'm calling with an update. We've completed the initial valve replacement and have begun the tissue reinforcement. Everything is proceeding better than expected. The donor tissue is integrating perfectly. I've never seen such a clean match. At this rate, we'll be done in 4 hours instead of 6. Nathan's knees buckled with relief. "She's okay. She's really okay." "She's more than okay, Mr. Hart. She's thriving. That little girl has a fighter's heart. Literally." Dr. Chen's voice held warmth Nathan had never heard from her before. "The tissue from Ms. Ashford is performing like it was always meant to be part of Lily's heart, which, genetically speaking, I suppose it was. Family connection at the cellular level." After the call ended, Nathan returned to Ravenna's room. She was sitting up slightly now, Claire adjusting her pillows. "Well?" Ravenna asked anxiously. "The surgery is going perfectly. Dr. Chen said your tissue is integrating like it was always meant to be there." Nathan's voice broke. "You saved her, Ravenna. You saved my little girl." "We saved her," Ravenna corrected. "You, me, Claire, Sarah, watching from wherever she is. Family saved her." Michelle appeared in the doorway. "Nathan, there are reporters in the lobby. Somehow the story leaked. Billionaire CEO donates tissue to save her secret niece. They want statements, interviews." Ravenna's expression hardened. "Tell them no. This isn't a publicity story. This is private, family business. They're offering money for exclusive interviews," Michelle continued hesitantly. "Substantial money. Nathan, it could help with Lily's medical bills." "No." Nathan's voice was firm. "Some things aren't for sale. Some miracles don't need to be broadcast." He looked at Ravenna. "Unless you want to—" "God, no!" Ravenna actually laughed. "I've spent my entire career managing my public image. Today, this is real. This is ours, not theirs." Claire smiled at both of them. "Mum would like that. She always said the best gifts are the ones no one else knows about, except the people who matter." They sat together in Ravenna's recovery room as evening turned to night. Michelle brought coffee. Claire shared stories about their mother, about Sarah as a baby, about the family history that none of them had known. Ravenna talked about building her company, about the loneliness that came with success, about waking up this morning thinking her life was over and going to bed tonight knowing it was just beginning. And Nathan told stories about Sarah, the wife they'd never known, the sister they'd lost, the mother Lily remembered through photographs, and the love that still surrounded her. At 11:47 p.m., Dr. Chen entered the room, still in her surgical scrubs, her face exhausted but triumphant. "The surgery was a complete success. Lily's heart is strong, stable, and functioning better than I dared hope. The tissue integration is perfect. Barring any unforeseen complications, she should make a full recovery." Dr. Chen looked at Ravenna. "Ms. Ashford, whatever genetic lottery your family won, it just saved a little girl's life." Nathan couldn't speak, could only cry. Michelle hugged him. Claire hugged Ravenna, and somehow they were all crying together, this makeshift family formed in a single, impossible day. "Can I see her?" Nathan finally asked. "She's in recovery now. She'll be moved to ICU within the hour. You can see her then. She's unconscious, but she's stable." After Dr. Chen left, Nathan turned to Ravenna. "When Lily wakes up, when she's strong enough, will you meet her? Properly, I mean. As her Aunt Ravenna." Ravenna's eyes filled with tears. "I would be honored." "And Claire," Nathan continued, looking at his sister-in-law, "Lily deserves to know her whole family, her mother's family. Will you be part of her life?" "Try and stop me," Claire said, smiling through her own tears. At 1:23 a.m., Nathan was finally allowed into the ICU. Lily lay in a bed surrounded by machines, tubes running from her small body to monitors that beeped reassuringly. Her chest rose and fell with steady, strong breaths. Her face was peaceful in unconsciousness. Nathan took her hand and bent close to her ear. "Hey, Princess, Daddy's here. Aunt Ravenna's piece of her heart is in your heart now, and it's making you stronger. You're going to wake up, and you're going to be okay. And we're going to have so many adventures together, you and me and your aunts. Your family." He stayed there for an hour, just holding her hand, watching her breathe, counting each heartbeat as a miracle. When the nurses finally insisted he needed rest, Nathan kissed Lily's forehead and whispered the ritual phrase, "Love you to the moon and back, Princess." And though she was unconscious, though she couldn't possibly hear him, Nathan could have sworn he saw the tiniest smile cross his daughter's face. In a recovery room 2 floors down, Ravenna Ashford lay awake despite the pain medication, her hand resting over her own heart where they'd harvested the tissue that now beat inside her niece. She thought about the morning, about the woman she'd been when she woke up, terrified, alone, running from connection. She thought about crashing, about Nathan finding her, about the impossible chain of events that led her here. Her phone buzzed. A text from Claire. "Mom's lawyer just contacted me. There's a trust fund. Mom set aside money for Lily's education and medical expenses, $500,000. She wanted to make sure Sarah's daughter would be taken care of." Ravenna stared at the message. Even in death, even decades after giving up her daughter, their mother had been trying to protect her family. Ravenna typed back, "I'll match it, $1 million total for Lily's future. No child who shares our blood will ever worry about medical expenses again." Claire's response was immediate. "Ravenna, you don't have to." "Yes, I do, because she's family, and family shows up." At 2 a.m., Nathan finally returned to the waiting room where Michelle had dozed off in a chair. He sat beside her, exhausted beyond measure, and pulled out his phone. There was one more thing he needed to do. He opened his photos and found the picture he'd taken of Sarah on their wedding day. Her radiant smile, her white dress, her eyes full of love and hope. He whispered to the image, "Sarah, I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if you had anything to do with today, but if you did, if you somehow arranged for me to be at that gate at that exact moment, if you led me to Ravenna, thank you. Thank you for watching over Lily. Thank you for bringing your family together to save our daughter. Thank you for loving us even from heaven." He closed his eyes, and for the first time in 6 years, Nathan didn't feel alone, because Sarah's love hadn't died with her. It had just been waiting, in the DNA of sisters she never knew, in the heart tissue of a CEO who needed saving as much as she needed to save, in the impossible miracle of a day that changed everything. Tomorrow, Lily would wake up. Tomorrow, they would begin the long road to recovery. Tomorrow, this new, strange, wonderful family would figure out how to move forward together. But tonight, Nathan Hart, the single father who'd sacrificed everything and gained the world, finally allowed himself to believe in miracles. 3 weeks later, autumn sunlight streamed through the windows of Nathan's modest 2-bedroom house in Denver. Lily sat on the living room couch, surrounded by pillows, her chest still bandaged beneath her favorite purple shirt. She looked small and fragile, but her eyes sparkled with more life than Nathan had seen in years. Dr. Chen had called her recovery unprecedented. The donor tissue had integrated so perfectly that Lily's heart was actually stronger than before her original defect developed. "Daddy, they're here!" Lily called, struggling to sit up straighter as a black SUV pulled into the driveway. "Easy, Princess. Remember what Dr. Chen said about moving too fast." Nathan helped adjust her pillows just as the doorbell rang. He opened the door to find Ravenna and Claire standing on his porch. Ravenna no longer wore her sling, though Nathan noticed she still moved carefully. Her royal blue blazer, professionally cleaned and repaired, hung perfectly on her shoulders. Claire carried a large bag decorated with balloons. "Aunt Ravenna!" Lily's excited voice carried from the living room. "Aunt Claire, come in, come in." This was the third time Ravenna and Claire had visited in the past 3 weeks. The first time, Lily had been nervous, overwhelmed by meeting the aunts she'd never known existed. But Ravenna had sat beside her hospital bed and told stories about building her company, about flying planes, about the morning she'd crashed and met Lily's daddy. And somehow, in Ravenna's carefully controlled face, Lily had seen something of her mother's features, the shape of her eyes, the way she smiled when she forgot to be guarded. Now, as Ravenna entered the modest living room, she took in the details Nathan had been too stressed to notice during their brief video calls. The photographs of Sarah covering the walls, the children's books stacked on every surface, the worn furniture that spoke of a home filled with love if not money. "Lily, you look amazing," Ravenna said, settling carefully into the armchair across from the couch. "How's the new heart treating you?" "Dr. Chen says it's super strong now. She says I can go back to school next month." Lily beamed. "And Daddy says maybe I can even play soccer next spring if I keep getting better." "Soccer?" Claire laughed, pulling wrapped presents from her bag. "Your mom, my sister Sarah, was terrible at soccer. She was more of a books and art kind of kid." "Really?" Lily's eyes widened. "I love books too. Daddy reads to me every night." "What are you reading now?" Ravenna asked, genuinely curious. Lily launched into an animated description of her current favorite series, and Nathan watched in amazement as Ravenna, the billionaire CEO who commanded boardrooms and piloted jets, listened with complete attention to a 6-year-old's rambling book report. When had Ravenna learned to be this way? Or had it always been there, buried under years of defensive isolation? "I brought you something," Ravenna said when Lily paused for breath. She pulled a small wrapped box from her jacket pocket. "It's not much, but, well, open it." Lily carefully unwrapped the box to reveal a delicate silver necklace with a small heart-shaped locket. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Open the locket," Ravenna said softly. Inside were 2 tiny photographs. One showed Sarah as a young woman, vibrant, smiling, full of life. The other showed Ravenna, Claire, and a woman Nathan didn't recognize, presumably their mother. "This is your family," Ravenna explained. "Your mom on one side, and her sisters, your Aunt Claire and me, on the other, so you can carry all of us with you always." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "My mommy and my aunts together, like we're all watching over me." "Exactly," Claire said, her own voice thick with emotion. She pulled out her own gift, a leather-bound photo album. "And this is for you and your dad. It's everything we have of Sarah's childhood. Photos, report cards, drawings, everything your mom never got to show you herself." Nathan took the album with shaking hands. He opened it to the first page and saw Sarah at age 3, gap-toothed and grinning. He'd never seen this photo, never known this version of his wife. "Thank you," he managed. "This is... Lily, look at Mommy when she was your age." They spent the next hour going through the album together, Claire providing stories for each photo, Ravenna occasionally adding details their mother had shared with her before dying. Lily absorbed it all, with the intensity of a child learning her own origin story. "Aunt Ravenna," Lily said suddenly, "does it hurt, where they took the piece of your heart?" Ravenna considered the question seriously. "Physically, not much anymore. The doctors say I'm healing well." She paused. "But emotionally, it's the best pain I've ever felt, because that piece of my heart is keeping you alive. That's not loss, that's purpose." "Claire told me about your mom," Nathan said quietly, "about the trust fund she set up for Lily. We don't know how to thank—" "You don't have to thank us for anything," Ravenna interrupted. "That money was always meant for Sarah's child. Mom just didn't get to deliver it herself." She looked around the modest living room, at the obvious care Nathan had poured into making it a home, despite limited resources. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. Both of you." Nathan and Claire exchanged glances. "Okay," Nathan said cautiously. Ravenna pulled out her phone and opened a document. "I've been thinking about the future," about family and what we owe each other and how to honor the people we've lost. She looked at Lily. Sweetheart, your medical expenses aren't over. You'll need follow-up surgeries, regular monitoring, potential complications. Your dad's insurance is good, but not great, and he shouldn't have to choose between your health and keeping a roof over your head. Ravenna, Nathan started, but she held up a hand. Let me finish. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering family support. I've established a medical trust for Lily, separate from what our mother set up. It'll cover all her medical expenses through college, plus any related costs, physical therapy, medications, whatever she needs. That's too much, Nathan protested. I can't accept. Nathan, Claire's voice was firm. This isn't about pride. This is about making sure our niece has everything she needs, please. Before Nathan could respond, Ravenna continued. There's more. I'm opening a second office for Ashford Aviation in Denver. I need someone to manage the construction project, someone with experience in site management, someone I trust completely. She looked directly at Nathan. The position pays $120,000 a year, plus benefits. Full medical coverage for families, flexible schedule so you can be present for Lily's appointments and recovery. Nathan stared at her. You're offering me a job. I'm offering my brother-in-law a position he's qualified for. Ravenna's smile was small but genuine. Sarah's widower, Lily's father, my family. Unless you'd prefer to keep working for that construction company that doesn't provide adequate medical coverage. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Daddy, Lily piped up. Then Aunt Ravenna will be your boss, and she can visit us all the time. Out of the mouths of babes, Claire laughed. She's got a point, Nathan. Nathan looked at these women, his late wife's sisters, his daughter's aunts, the family that had materialized out of tragedy and miracle. 3 weeks ago, he'd been alone, desperate, sacrificing everything just to get his daughter to surgery. Now he had a support system, a future, a family. Yes, he said finally. Yes, I accept. Both the trust and the job, and his voice cracked. And thank you for everything, for saving Lily, for being here, for being family, Ravenna finished. That's what we do. Lily yawned, the excitement wearing her out. Nathan started to suggest she rest, but Ravenna spoke first. Actually, before Lily gets too tired, there's one more thing. She looked at Claire, who nodded encouragingly. Lily, Aunt Claire and I have been talking, and we'd like to establish a tradition. Every year on the anniversary of your surgery, November 1st, we want to celebrate. Not just your recovery, but your mom's memory and the family she brought together. We're calling it Sarah's Day. Would you like that? Lily's face lit up. A whole day to celebrate Mommy? A whole day to celebrate your mom, your recovery, and the fact that family finds a way, Claire confirmed. We'll do something special every year. Your choice of activity. Can we go flying? Lily asked immediately, looking at Ravenna. In your jet? Daddy said you're a pilot and you fly everywhere. Ravenna laughed, a genuine unguarded sound Nathan had rarely heard. Absolutely. On your next Sarah's Day, after Dr. Chen clears you for travel, we'll take you flying. Deal? Deal. As Lily finally dozed off on the couch, exhausted but happy, the 3 adults moved to Nathan's small kitchen. Claire made coffee while Ravenna studied the photographs of Sarah covering Nathan's refrigerator. She was beautiful, Ravenna said softly. I wish I'd known her. Me too, Claire agreed. I found her too late. But she looked through the doorway at sleeping Lily. We found her daughter in time. That counts for something. It counts for everything, Nathan said. He looked at Ravenna. That morning at the airport, what you said about not believing in fate, do you still feel that way? Ravenna was quiet for a long moment. I've spent 3 weeks thinking about that day, about the statistical improbability of everything that happened. I cancelled my flight 3 times. 3 times. Any one of those times, if I'd gone through with it, I wouldn't have been at that gate. You wouldn't have found me. Lily. She stopped, composing herself. I don't know if it was fate or divine intervention or just coincidence, but I know it changed me. I know I'm not the same person I was that morning. None of us are, Claire added. I've spent 10 years looking for Sarah, grieving that I found her too late. But finding you, Ravenna, and meeting Nathan and Lily, it's like Sarah gave us a second chance at being family." Nathan poured the coffee, his mind drifting back to that morning, to the moment he'd seen Ravenna collapsed by the gate, to the choice he'd made, the choice that had cost him everything and given him everything. "Sarah used to say something," Nathan said quietly. "She'd say, 'We help when we can help. That's what makes us human.'" "I didn't realize she was quoting your mother." Claire's head snapped up. "What?" "The phrase, 'We help when we can help.' I've been going through the documents you gave me about your mom. She wrote it in a letter to Sarah, a letter that was supposed to be delivered when Sarah turned 18 but got lost in the adoption system. I found it in the family file you gave us." Claire pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos. She showed them an image of a handwritten letter, faded with age. At the bottom, in elegant script, "Remember my darling girl. We help when we can help. That's what makes us family." "Sarah never got this letter," Nathan whispered. "But somehow she knew the words anyway. She lived them. She taught them to me." "And you lived them," Ravenna said. "When you stopped to help me, you were being exactly who Sarah raised you to be, who our mother wanted Sarah to be." The lesson traveled through generations without anyone realizing it. They sat in silence, contemplating the invisible threads that connected them. Sarah, who never knew her biological family, had carried their values in her DNA, in her spirit. She'd passed those values to Nathan, who'd passed them to Lily. And that morning at the airport, when Nathan chose compassion over convenience, he'd pulled those threads tight, weaving a family that should never have existed. "I have something for you," Claire said suddenly, pulling a small envelope from her purse. "Mom left letters for all of us, one for me, one for Sarah," her voice caught, "and one for Sarah's husband if she ever married. She wrote it 20 years ago and updated it every few years. This is the final version, written 6 months before she died." Nathan took the envelope with trembling hands. His name was written on the front in the same elegant script from the letter to Sarah. "Read it when you're ready," Claire said. "There's no rush." Later that evening, after Ravenna and Claire had left with promises to visit again soon, after Lily had woken up for dinner and gone back to sleep in her own bed, Nathan sat alone in his bedroom and opened the letter. "Dear son-in-law, if you're reading this, it means several things have happened. I've died. You've met Claire. And somehow, impossibly, you've learned about the family Sarah never knew she had. I don't know your name or your face, but I know your heart. Because my daughter Sarah, the baby I gave up when I was too young and too scared, only would have married someone kind, someone patient, someone who saw her beauty despite her scars. I gave Sarah a way to protect her, to give her opportunities I couldn't provide. It's the greatest regret of my life and the most loving thing I've ever done. Both things are true simultaneously. If Sarah gave you children, love them for both of us. Tell them their grandmother thinks of them every day. Tell them they come from people who make hard choices out of love. If Sarah has sisters she never met, help them find each other. Family isn't just blood. It's choice. It's showing up. It's sacrifice. Most importantly, forgive us. Forgive me for the years Sarah spent wondering where she came from. Forgive Claire for finding her too late. Forgive Ravenna for not knowing she existed. We all did the best we could with impossible choices. And know this, Sarah was loved. From the moment she was born until the moment I took my last breath, she was loved. That love doesn't end just because we couldn't be together. It echoes forward, into your life, into your children's lives. Take care of my girls, all of them. With love, Margaret Whitmore. Nathan folded the letter carefully and placed it in the photo album Claire had given them. Tomorrow, he would show it to Lily when she was old enough to understand. He would share it with Ravenna and Claire, this final message from the mother who'd shaped their lives even in absence. But tonight, Nathan walked to Lily's room and watched his daughter sleep, her chest rising and falling with the strong, steady beat of a heart that carried pieces of family she'd never known, a heart strengthened by sacrifice. A heart that beat with the combined courage of her mother, her aunts, and the father who'd chosen love over fear at an airport gate. "We did it, Sarah," Nathan whispered. "We saved her. Your family saved her. You brought us all together and we saved our little girl." And somewhere, in whatever place Sarah resided now, Nathan liked to imagine her smiling, watching her husband, her daughter, and her sisters figure out how to be a family, knowing that the values she'd carried without understanding their origin had ultimately saved everyone she loved. 3 weeks ago, Nathan had been a desperate father missing a flight. Now he was a man with family, with purpose, with hope, all because he'd made one choice: to stop when no one else would, to help when it cost him everything, to believe that compassion mattered more than convenience. That choice had given him everything that mattered. And as Nathan climbed into his own bed, exhausted but at peace, he thought about Ravenna's question on the plane. Do you believe in fate? He still didn't know if fate existed, but he knew love did, and sacrifice, and second chances, and family. Complicated, messy, impossible family, pulling together when it mattered most. That was enough. That was everything.